All right, it's the one and only guy, Johnny. I'm here. Wanted to talk with you all. This is for the 5D attraction page, the attraction guide page. So, this is gonna be really big, man. I'm back live and direct. You know what I mean? Cooling out at the pad. We just moved to the new spot. Let me move this out the way. So here we are, and pretty much, man, there's some things I want to let you guys know. So the big thing that I think is really key when it comes to going out into the field, it really boils down to desire. And this is something that you have to utilize. On one level, you have guys that want to just go out there and chase, guys that would say just approach, because we know the numbers game is extremely important. I'm going to do a video on the numbers game. I'm going to go in depth on that because that's I know you've heard it before, but we got to go a little deeper when it comes to an attraction perspective. So the numbers game is a matter of you just looking at the basic numbers, that the more women you approach, or in sales, the more people you approach, the more potential closing opportunities you're going to have. And, one thing that me and my guys talk about is availability. That's something that I work with a few other coaches that are pretty high up there, in the DC area, and we really have understood a powerful aspect of availability. And that's something that we'll talk about. But availability aside for this one, it's key to understand, okay, you can either have them come to you or you go to them. The reality is that the feminine energy, that's more of the yin, the energy that's pulling in. They're the more attractive amongst the two sexes, only in the aspect of if you're a heterosexual male, you're going to want to approach them. And generally, women have more suitors than men. So you can't just sit back and expect a woman to go after you. So, you can look your best, and a woman will give you indicators of interest. Some women might walk up to you, but generally you have to communicate. So the key thing, though, is when you're communicating, are your communications being heard? Are you just talking to every girl like a robot, like, hey, what's going on, not knowing what you're doing? Or are you a robot in the sense of you communicate and you have a whole spiel that you want to give? Everything's memorized. It's not very natural, So one thing that I definitely recommend for the guys out there is to utilize desire. Now, the thing about desire is an energy that pulls you. For example, let's say, all right, if you have to go to work, you're going to have to wake yourself up. You're going to have to override a lot of the resistances in order to get that done. Or if you work out, or, a lot of the things in life we have to do requires us to go against, things that may want to have you staying in place. You have to go against laziness, procrastination. There's a lot of things in the way of getting something done. So that compared to desire, desire is something that it pulls you. So for example, somebody that loves to make music, somebody that loves to play sports or like basketball or anything, generally it doesn't feel like, man, I gotta do this. It more so feels like they're pulled to it, like, I love basketball. Whatever you're passionate about, you just want to do it. Now, of course, there's always an element, the more professional you get, where even in those type of things, you have to override some resistance. You might not feel like being in the studio a particular day, but you go. That you put in work if you're a musician. You may not want to play basketball on a certain day, but you still go out there. But generally, it's easier to do because there's a desire. So now when we look at approaching, generally men have a resistance to approach. Men don't want to approach because it's a vulnerable thing, and you can feel as though, who wants to talk to me? I don't want to, look like a fool. I don't want to interrupt anybody, whatever. But the reality is you don't want to just go at everything. You more so want to look and identify what stands out to you, identify what attracts you, what pulls you, and that's the person who generally you're going to want to approach. Or if there's a curiosity, Curiosity is one of the best ways to approach somebody, or just the natural passion. Like, hey, how you doing? You looking wonderful. What's your name? Or hey, how you doing? Yeah, with some guys, how y'all ladies doing? As simple as that. You don't have to say too much. Hey, what's going on? How y'all doing? As soon as y'all, boom, you walk up, start talking. So, you know, you have to make a lot of approaches, but to give it that extra oomph, that extra presence, you have to be present in the interaction. You can't be distracted, or you can't be just going over what someone told you to say. You know, you want to feel an inspiration. So that way when you approach, the difference between approaching like hey, how you doing? My name is blah, 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 versus, wow, how you doing? What's going on? Nice to meet you. Yep, you know, we're here, blah, blah, blah. You know, there's a different presence that's felt. You know, you want to know that the person you're going after triggers something in you. You feel a desire to move toward them. And generally, that might be the people that are the most attractive to you, or that might have that pull to you. Now, a lot of the time, you know, the very beautiful woman will have that effect on every man, but what you guys have to realize is that every man isn't approaching. You know, a lot of the time they'll say, man, she's gotten 100 approaches a week. That's not necessarily true. You know, the more beautiful a woman is, the more nervous guys are approaching, the more ideas they have in their mind that she's harder to get at. So if you actually are looking good, you present your best self, that's the key. As long as you're, you know, got a clean cut, dress nice, you know, have a good energy, and you approach and you base it on numbers. You just approach as many beautiful women as possible, or you know, you approach as many women that inspire you to approach them. You'll start having some success. I mean, you'll really have some success. You know, so that's really big. Utilize that desire, because when you come at them from a place of desire, they feel that, and then they build more desire for you because they like being desired. A lot of women are in situations where they don't experience a lot of desire. A lot of men don't approach. I've seen a lot of posts lately where women have been saying that men don't approach, men just look. You know, a lot of women go out there at night ready to meet somebody that's going to give them a great experience, but they can't because nobody's approaching them. They're just sitting around waiting. Nobody's making a move. You got to be willing to make that move at any point in time. The minute you see what you want, you go for it. That you can't lose that way. And we're going to go more in depth with that, but you cannot lose if you go after what you want. There's even a level beyond that where that's called base. And I'm doing a program on that, but I'm going to still talk about it before the program comes out. And base is really just basing. Like, whatever, not in a way that's rude, no, just in a way where if you want something, you see something you like, hey, what's going on, you go after it. That's even networking. You see a guy that you might recognize or something they're doing, hey, what's going on? Communication is going to be your way to the promised land. You have to speak, you have to network. That includes women and men, and that includes men as well. You know, networking is something that you can't get around it, whether it's in relationships, dating, friendships, business relationships. You want to be communicating. So utilize approaching women as an opportunity to build a network. She might not be available, but you may be able to exchange Instagram, and then from there she could see your value on Instagram, and maybe you guys can communicate another time, or you might notice she's in a similar place you are, and you're like, cool. You know, they're gonna watch. Trust me, they're gonna be peeping. If you have a life that's somewhat interesting, if you're posting, you know, which is a great tool to in attraction right now, especially right now. You know, something you want to utilize. So the key thing is utilize that desire as the thing that's going to drive you to approach, and use that in your interaction. You don't have to say anything special. Just, you feel that, man, she was beautiful. Hey, how you doing? The rest is going to figure itself out. Let it come natural. Let it, you know, it's okay, man. If you do the numbers game correctly, you'll stumble into a beautiful woman in your life. You'll stutter my boy once said it. I mean, he had an example of somebody he worked with, and the guy stumbled his way into, ended up having, you know, relationship, good, you know, having a, you know, connection with the beautiful young lady. He was stuttering through the communication, and she just liked him. She just liked his vibe, and it didn't matter what he said. She was sold. So the more approaches you make, the more opportunity you have to get with the person that is perfectly for you. And aside from that, man, I'll be back. It's the one and only guy, Johnny. You're listening to The Attraction Guy. 5D Attraction, live and direct. Peace.